The question of what rights Christians should fight for is a really urgent one. There seem to be so many issues coming up. How do we know what we ought to be prioritizing? How do we know what God wants us to be getting involved in? And it seems to me there are two very different sets of issues and rights that Christians need to be fighting for. First, because Christians understand that every human being has been made in the image of God, we want to defend human dignity wherever it is under attack. And Proverbs 31 verse 8 and 9 says, speak up for those who are not able to speak for themselves. Defend those who are powerless. So I think there's a particular calling that Christians have to intervene, to protect the rights and the interests and the dignity of those who cannot argue and present cases on behalf of themselves. So that's why the Christian involvement in the pro-life movement, both at the beginning of life and at the end of life, dealing with those who aren't capable of speaking for themselves, is really important. But there's also an important place for Christians to defend the rights of the church. And we see this in the book of Acts when Peter and John are told by the authorities, told by the Sanhedrin to stop talking about Jesus. And they say, well, we have to obey God rather than men. And they're making it very clear there that the claims of the gospel, the importance of proclaiming Jesus and being able to live faithfully as his disciples is more important than any rules that a state might impose. And one of the key things that the Reformation gave us in terms of an understanding of rights is how central that is. I'm speaking to you from Poland, and here in Poland, when all the other institutions had been closed down by the communists, it was the church that was one of the few that was left. And in Poland and East Germany, the churches, standing as visible institutions, were the places where people rallied to when communism fell. I think we shouldn't be embarrassed about defending the rights of the church, because so many other human rights come out of the right to freedom of worship. So freedom of speech and freedom of expression and freedom of association, freedom of conscience, that are valuable for everybody in society, have historically come out of the rights of the church. And we, even today, places that provide, countries that provide greater freedom of worship also provide greater freedom for all sorts of other activities. So they are better places to run businesses. They are better places to run schools and hospitals and universities. They are better places to flourish as human beings if freedom of worship is respected. So there's a sense in which we mustn't get trapped into thinking that in defending the rights of the church, we're just defending us. I think when we defend the rights of the church, we need to be presenting that and explaining that as an important way of blessing the societies and nations where we live.